Good morning, Bhagavad Gita people. It's another day of our year-long sadhana. Thank you so much for being part of this. And today's practice is dedicated to Sue H. May you have a quick recovery from your procedure, and may it bring you a better life. And speaking of life, we're continuing with the theme of death as a friend that's often expressed in spiritual traditions and in the traditions of the Indian subcontinent, especially. Through stories of the Mahabharata, we get an interesting perspective on life, and that is that human life, often thought of as the pinnacle of evolution and existence, can actually be a curse. For example, grandfather Bhishma, who is kind of the grandsire of all the people fighting on both sides of the Gita's civil war, actually wasn't human. He was a divine being who had got caught stealing in heaven, and then the punishment was to be cursed to be human. He was trapped in a human body. And when he was very young, he had this sense of, this isn't right. However, when he was older, he performed a heroic deed and received the boon that he could die whenever he wished. But by that time, he was old enough to get attached to human life. And that attachment caused him to live on and to do things that really compromised his moral principles. For example, when he was young, he swore to protect whoever sat on the throne of his family's kingdom. Well, now that the Great War of the Gita has come up and the bad guys have usurped the throne of that kingdom, Bhishma has no choice but to protect them. Even though he knows in his heart of hearts that supporting people that lie, cheat, and steal on the throne of a kingdom is wrong, he still has no choice because he's bound by his oath that as long as he's alive, he'll protect those people. So as the war goes on and the bad guys fight the good guys, Bhishma finds himself observing members of his own family gleefully attacking and killing each other. And in fact, he's expected to kill members of his own family too. Only when this cost gets too much to bear does he reveal the secret of how he can be killed to one of his beloveds. And he then gives up his body. So there are other stories in the Mahabharata, like the story from yesterday, where the apsaras, heavenly divine beings, are cursed to be turned into crocodiles. Or at the end of the war, a soldier who had tried to kill a fetus in the womb is cursed with everlasting life as long as this earth remains. And he's miserable, it is said. So one way we can look at death as a friend is to realize that life could be, not always, but could be looked at as something of a curse. Everything has its positive and negatives. The clinging to life often prompts us to perform some of our most heroic and admirable deeds. But by the same token, clinging to life often creates in us the ability to perform the most heinous deeds. The drive to survive can be at the root of sexual violence, for instance. It can cause us to compromise our principles. We feel threatened, and things that we would never ever do, we do because we want to hang on to this physical self. Remember, the drive to live can also produce heroism. It's up to us how we want to harness that drive, just like anything else. How do we use that drive? So, today, when we do our meditation, I'm inviting you to think about perhaps where the drive to stay alive may have compromised you. For example, you wanted a certain job, but another job was more financially secure. And even though it's killing you inside, you're at the more financially secure job because it will help you survive, or your children survive, or your grandchildren, or your spouse. And then perhaps, if you can, think of a way in which your drive to live is producing something wonderful in you as well, something courageous and admirable. You get to choose where your focus lies, just as in life. Choose your focus. We will focus on our practice now. One round of the one-footed prayer or tree pose, followed by a 5-minute meditative practice. Okay, let's begin. Let's switch sides. And now time for our meditative practice of about 5 minutes. Since we're contemplating death, remember, you can choose to do this from Shavasana or corpse pose if you wish. One of the reasons I'm not doing it from corpse pose lately is because my neighbors are out and about, and the drive for them to see me live might cause them to call an ambulance. Oh, thank you, neighbors. Welcome back. It is said that when Bhishma from the story finally did die in the midst of the battle where he saw his family killing each other, he resumed his true form, returned to the heavens where he rejoined his brothers and wife. Oh, how will you approach the power of life today? The choice is always up to you. I hope you choose to come back tomorrow for our final session on death as a friend. See you then.